Peter, thank you very much. And you just told us that new polling shows a paltry 36% of adults approve of President Biden's handling of crime. It actually has fallen from October when it was 43%, still very low. Similarly, just 32% approve of his handling of gun violence. That's down 7 points. Kellyanne Conway, former advisor to President Trump, is in focus. Good to see you today. First of all,
thank you, Harris.
The law and order president, the law and order White House, the way that you and your team determined how you would attack something like this is very different from what President Biden is doing. Why is he failing?
He's failing because people know what they see. They're very concerned about public safety matters in their own cities. And I believe that education and public safety will be the twin pillar issues driving many of the suburban voters in 2022 and 2024. The economy is always important. That's a perennial concern. But people know what they see, and they're increasingly concerned that you have prosecutors saying we will not prosecute. Cops, first they were defunded. Harris, now they're being defanged. They simply can't make arrests. And you're seeing all these early retirements and early resignations from our police officers who feel like they no longer have the respect or the resources. Look what just happened in Minneapolis this fall. The police force there was refunded really to the levels before George Floyd was murdered there because people are saying, where are the cops? We're very worried about public safety. Look what happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin. We have real life examples on Joe Biden's watch. We had a prosecutor there saying that he's going to do away with certain types of bail. Even Darrell Brooks Jr. mother says she regrets posting a $1,000 bail for her son. He was arrested he was accused of punching and then running over the mother of his child. His mother posted the bail and he went on to drive through that Christmas parade, injuring dozens and killing 6 innocent people, including children and grandmothers, Harris. So people are watching, and I was around in 1994 with Newt Gingrich and the contract with America. The Republicans went on to win 53 congressional seats, control of the Senate, lots of governorships and state legislatures. Crime matched the economy as the #1 issue in 1994. It's easy to forget. But the criminal concerns then were, it was about political recidivism, 3 strikes you're out, sentencing reform. And now it's really depravity toward human life. And as Peter Doocy said, brazen daylight robberies. But it's a combination of matters, and people are laying it at Biden's feet. Jen Psaki, the press secretary, said it's COVID's fault. They can no longer blame Trump for things they've been doing for a year. Now it's COVID's fault. People know whose fault it is. It's the criminals they see right in front of them.
Of these things that are happening.
Yes.
And the heartbreaking situations that you remind us of with the grandmother and the people across the country that are suffering from this. Yes. But when you look at this video, you suddenly realize that jobs are being destroyed when this happens. I mean, who wants to stay in business if that's what's next? You've got some mayors like Lori Lightfoot in Chicago blaming the businesses. Well, maybe you should have more cameras. I mean, I think she didn't mean that, but she said it out loud. Look, I'm wondering what kind of impact this has going forward. You took us back to 1994. Take us forward to 2022 and the Democrats.
It has a very big impact because they don't seem to understand the error of their ways. They're out of sync with what most Americans are saying about crime, drugs, 100,000 overdose deaths, fentanyl pouring over the border, and they're out of touch with the way people are looking at just basic public safety. You see the flight from many of these urban areas. People want to live in the suburbs again. That's not because of COVID. That's because of the schools, and that's because of public safety. So I think it will hurt the Democrats because there's actually a bright line distinction between the two parties. And in the awful polling numbers that you and Peter Doocy recited, Harris, these are ABC News polls. The independents are really against Joe Biden on this issue as well.
Yes.
Women particularly. If you've only got 36% of the country saying that they favor your position on crime, it's gone down by 7 points in just 2 short months, you have nobody happy. And I think that the Vice President, Kamala Harris,
so I want to show you some more numbers.
Nobody's happy. And Vice President Harris has a history here. Yes,
if you'll let me, because I know I can't keep you forever, but I want you to see these numbers. I'm going to ask my team to pop these up. 2 recent polls show President Biden's approval rating. So now we're not just talking about crime, which is what you were saying. Like, that's an indicator, right? They continue to be dismal. The president stands at 42% of approval, 51% disapproval, and an NPR Marist national survey released last week. And a national poll from Monmouth University indicated 40% approval and 50% disapproval. So worse there, but still clustered around one theory: bad. Kellyanne?
Bad. They don't seem to do anything well these days at the White House. That is not a partisan comment. It's a reflection as somebody who's been in polling for decades, Harris. And I think three things have happened to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the polls recently. Number one, Americans have lost confidence in their competence. You had a majority of people in the Quinnipiac poll saying as much. These polls reflect that. Number two, Biden's personal attributes have cratered. So I think even for President Obama, President Clinton, when they were at their lowest point approval rating, or surviving scandals or bad economic times or war, they still had personal attributes up there. Cares about people like me, has a plan, is compassionate, knows what they're doing, inspires their party, is mentally fit. All of these have gone down for Joe Biden, according to the NBC poll, from when they first studied it in May to this November. And the third thing that's happened with Joe Biden in these polls is that the center has fallen out for him. Those people in the center who said he's going to unify, he's going to be bipartisan. Do you realize the most bipartisan action the Biden administration has taken, the most interested they've been in reaching out across the aisle and getting Republican votes, was impeachment? That tells you all you need to know about how they are fueling the divisions that are in this country.
Out. I wrote down what you said. I want to take a look at this with you. Because that center portion is really important. That's what everybody goes for. I mean, there's the base, then that little nugget in the middle that you can count on, that if you do something that gets their attention, they'll come to the polls. A New York Times piece says Democrats are solidly behind President Biden, who would be 82 years old if he were to decide to run again in 2024. So let's look even farther down the road, Kellyanne. But just because there's no plan B doesn't mean the party isn't worried. Quote, a nexus of anxious currents in the Democratic Party has stoked speculation about a possible contested primary in 2 years. On top of concerns about Mr. Biden's age and present unpopularity, there is an overarching fear among Democrats of the possibility of a Trump comeback and a determination that the party must run a strong candidate to head that off. A recent Wall Street Journal poll found President Biden and former President Trump neck and neck in a hypothetical 2024 matchup. What do you make of it?
We're seeing that trending in our statewide polls as well. I'm back in the business, and we see that exact dynamic playing out in the statewide polls. Here's what I think. What I think is that many Americans are always hopeful. This is America. We are resilient. We always survive, Harris. But right now, people are very worried. They're worried about inflation. They're worried about crime and public safety, education. They're certainly worried about supply chain crisis, Christmas, the things that you see at the gas pump and the grocery cart. But here's the problem. They don't just say, I hope it will get better. They say, I know it actually was better. And it was better not that long ago. Can we have that back? And many people said, I just needed a break from Donald Trump. I couldn't take the tweets. I couldn't take this. I couldn't take that. They'll say to me, is the break over yet? No, because it's not a football game. It's not halftime. It's a very long break. And people would come up to me routinely. How are you? How's your family? Please tell the president thank you. Tell him thank you. Now they don't even wait. If my hair was on fire, Harris, they would get the bucket of water second. They first run up to me no matter where I'm and say, please tell me he's running again. Please tell me he's going to do 2024.
They do it simultaneously.
People are worried. They want that back. They want that. That's right. They want that back.
I get the message, but
they want that
save
back.
you. Hey, you said something there that I want the audience really to be sensitive to, because you said I'm back in the business of this. As a polling expert, that's really why I wanted to dig deep with you today. You're into the analytics, you're into who's taking the polls, and you're into the questions that are being asked. And those are important for us to know, because they tell us the trend lines going forward. And I'm really, really glad to see you. And thank you for your expertise today. Kellyanne Conway in Focus.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Harris.